welcome. Welcome to a Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Just in time, prime time with Ghazni. And I'll tell you, I wasn't going to stream. I've been dialing back. This is, you've heard this before, right? But I got a little inspired. And it's a little negative today. I guess it's kind of a negative thing, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of my yellow stickies. So I said, well, I guess I better stream to get this out of clean the, what do you call it? Clean the pipes. I don't know, what do you call it? Anyways, it's a Saturday night. Welcome. Thank you for showing up. I've got some interesting stuff to talk about, and this is audience participation time. So if you're a chatter, or even if you're not a chatter and you want to talk, put your stuff in the chat, because we're going to have a dialogue here. I'm not sure, I always have my ideas and answers in law. I always have these ideas for answers I want to solve. I have solutions, and I would say that prepare is my solution, really, to the world's problems, or my gift to the world. And Danielle's here. Okay, so Danielle knows. But this is a big problem, and we need to talk about it, because I've got some thoughts on it, and it's a dialogue. I don't know if I have the ultimate solution. Only maybe I have some individual solutions. But let's talk. All right. So here we are tonight. I've been thinking, actually, also I have my sidecar tonight. Got to try this. It's this topic driving to work, and after we're done, my wife and I are going to sit down and start watching Mad Men. That's one of I love that show, and we're going to. I've got it on I have Blu-ray up here, and I was like, you know what? I want to rewatch that, because it was such a great series. One of my favorite, like The Wire, Sopranos, Seinfeld. Let's see what else I got up there. Seinfeld. Yeah, those are my favorites. Simpsons first 10 seasons. So let's see who we got here. Lord of the Ree. Good to see you, Lord of the Ree. He's my first Rumbler. And we got Shane Sousa. I don't know if he's here, but David Yeah, here we go. He's already commenting. See, people know about this topic. Yellow, orange, red. The kitten's so pitiful. Yeah, the kitten. You like my my little kitten there. I love little animal pictures. He's getting a bath. Cats don't like a bath. Nikki G. Yeah, Wooksy. And so Danielle's here. Good to see you, my wrench. And I will tell you, I want the wrench to be fully engaged if we get people out. Pam, good to see you. David Nelson. Soulless Ginger, which is just on. And let's see. Do you like the haircut? What do you think? Ben, son. Makes me want to adopt the kitten. I know, he's cute. So, gather around the fire. Feel free to take notes if you wish. Broken Baker. You're sleeping. You should be sleeping. Goodfella D over in Rumble. A few weeks ago, I'm going to stop streaming SNG. I'll take on March Madness with my stream. What a difference it makes. See, I'm going to stop streaming. I didn't say I'm going to stop streaming. Go back and watch. I said I need to reconsider, and I have reconsidered, and I am now doing what I want to do, and I'm not being pressured into covering things or any kind of set schedule. Although I try to aim for 8 o'clock, because that seems to work out for the family, dinner, work, everything, and it is a fun outlet. And I got to meet people like Danielle here. And one of these days, we got to have a grifting stream coming up soon, because, boy, I'll tell you, I have been lacking the grift. I will tell you, I do have a cigar that my wife has priced at $800. And I have an agreement from a key streamer who has a big following to grift the new book, the new novel, which is Death Penalty Desires, Passion, Lust, and Murder. So the cigar will be at things. So we're going to have a hard launch probably first week of April on Death Penalty Desires, although you are my friends, the people here, and it's available right now. The books are coming in probably beginning of next week, sometime next week, and they'll be shipping out next week sometime. So patience, but the ebooks are all available. Ebook is available on both Penalty Desires, or the R-rated version and the PG version. And I will say on the Grift stream, or one of these things, if you all want to do something for me as we go along, Danielle does not have a hardback death penalty debates. So I was thinking we ought to do a run. Somebody can buy Danielle a death penalty debates. All my hardbacks I basically resolved are going to be $85. So maybe super chats or something. If we get enough super chats, I'll mail this out to Danielle. What do you say? Is that a good deal, Danielle? Are you into that? You do have a death. Which one don't you have? Danielle, you don't have a hardback of which one? Summer Friend? I don't know. You should. Make sure Danielle, who's one of my mentoree, make sure she has a hardback of everything. Which one don't you have, Danielle? Tia Nina, good to see you. Summer Friend. Okay, so we'll get Danielle. I got a hardback Summer Friend right here too. So check it out. Hardback Summer Friend for Danielle, $85 in super chats. All right, but that's not for today. I mean, I'm trying to just do some substantive shows, but I'm not opposed to it. Sandra, good to see you. So let's have a little sip of Sidecar and get going. All right. Okay, what do we got here? And by the way, thank you to the replay crew, because you guys are awesome. Okay, so the topic here is, will humanity survive the internet? All right, now let me, first of all, I have to make short little things to get your interest and to start the topic out. I'm going to amend that right off the bat. So when I say humanity, will humanity survive the internet? What I mean is, will individual freedom and truth survive the internet? Okay, so and when I say that humanity, I'm saying my humanity, because as you know, Danielle knows from Prepare, if anybody reads Prepare, which everybody should read Prepare, that is my foundational values are truth and individual freedom. So when I say humanity as it exists. Now, clearly that we could have something that wipes out everybody on Earth, and in that case, humanity would not survive. All right, humanity will continue into the future in some form. But are we going to be full of lies and slavery, or will we be living in truth and freedom? I think that's the challenge the internet poses. See there? And that makes me want to drink some nice sugar Sidecar to make my life happy, because this is a little bit of a darker topic. Any objections to me amending my statement? Hearing none. So, boy, I got so many little stickies here. First thing I want to talk about is, okay, and there's a quote, and I was going to look this up. I guess we can look it up together, because I forget who says this. I forget the Okay, quote by Adam Smith. So Adam Smith is a brilliant economist, and he says there's a great deal of ruin in a nation. There's a great deal of ruin in a nation. And I know the quote, and I didn't have the attribution, so I want to make sure I properly attribute these quotes. So what does that mean? It means that we have a very wealthy country. And Charles S., you got it right here. America, the middle class, and all the luxuries we have enjoyed have been an anomaly. That's correct. So the state of man, one thing that people, I saw another thing, somebody posted on this public defender. It's like, the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice. And I was going to reply, but I didn't want to get into a contest on somebody on the line. But that's false. Poverty is the natural state of man. Okay, that is the natural state of man is basically slavery, hard work, and servitude for the vast majority of human history, and poverty, starvation. So this is that is the way it has been. Wealth and freedom is an anomaly, like what was said here by Charles S. So when you say there's a lot of ruin in a nation, we've built up a great country. We have a lot of wealth. We have a lot of positive stuff in the country, right? And we got a long way to fall, but we can fall. I need a drink with these topics. Bob Bill, good to see you. Is this Bob Bill? Is that the guy I go to lunch with occasionally? Um, so that's the first concept that we need to get through our thick heads is that wealth is an anomaly. Oh, you're in Australia, Bob Bill? Okay, I've got it. There's another fellow that I went to lunch with. I thought he was Bob Bill, but forget what his green moniker was. There's a lot of ruin in a nation. So what I'm saying is that we could be completely screwing up. And I assert that we probably are. But the consequences will be greatly delayed because we will be sliding downhill for a long time. And it will take a long time for the consequences of bad actions to fully destroy us. But yet I think, but it takes effort to retain wealth and freedom and truth and these values that are so important. It takes effort. And what I mean by effort is not necessarily work. It takes a willingness to confront and to deal with truths that may be uncomfortable and fit and are against our ideological proclivities. So, here, I'm going to kind of skip around here. I've got, we've created a wealth blanket that has separated accountability from our individual ideas. So what's going to happen is, like, it used to be when poverty was the rule and starvation was the rule, somebody who had a delusion about the world would die. That was a threat to the life of individuals and of the community. Somebody's out there spouting delusion, they're going to pay for that consequence with their life. The crops will fail. You see that in, like, collective farming, for example, which is a really bad idea, collective farming, and it's caused mass starvation. It does sadden me, Charles S. You're on over the target today, and that's why this is a little difficult topic to talk about. Mexican. Well, I will say that, people are so anti-immigrant, and I am very much about border control. On the other hand, if I could trade a lot of these delusional pink-haired freaks that are so delusional and destroying the society for a whole bunch of hardworking Hispanic Spanish speakers coming over who want to work hard and I'm all for it. The problem is we can't trade them. And the problem is we can't bring in, we don't have control. So we aren't screening for the people that want to work and those who want to suck off the system, and that's why border controls are important. We should let in people who want to support and believe in the ideals of the country. Those people should be brought in and celebrated, but this idea of just unregulated, not knowing who's coming in is a stupid idea. It's basically anti-country, anti-US. Anti-American. So there's a lot of ruin in the nation. And here we have wealth creation has separated us from accountability for our delusional ideas. And that's a big problem. That is a huge problem. All right. And let's just pause it, because let's play a little mind game, a little mind experiment, a thought experiment, which I like to do. This, is take things to the extreme. We're not there yet. We're in this sort of midway point between productive heaven and absolute poverty. We're in the middle where we've created a lot of wealth, but not everybody is equally, in the hammock of wealth and thing. We have a lot of homeless. We have a lot of people who are poor. and we have a lot of wants. There's scarcity still, and there probably will be for the foreseeable future. However, we have created robotic factories that pump out cars, and we've got lots of cell phones, and create cell phones for everybody. Everybody's got the internet. Everybody's got access to the media sources. So we have a lot of wealth in the country. And if somebody has a delusional idea, they are protected from the consequences of those poisonous ideologies by the civilization that is all around us. So it's basically a parasitic ideologies based on falsity are parasitic on the country that favors freedom. Think about that. So wealth creation separated from accountability is a problem, a big problem. It also allows for delusion and ideological projection into the society, creates falsity within our narratives. What happens to the internet, and we'll get to, how is the internet feeding this, creates networks of people who are self-reinforcing bad ideologies and bad ideas. So bad ideas become parasitic within the body politic. Bad ideas become, in the marketplace of ideas, crowd out other ideas. So I need a sidecar for this topic, right? And how will we know it? How, if somebody, and I always think about here, I'll share the image that I keep thinking about. I think about the person who lives in a big city and they live in a little cubicle apartment, and they go to work in the subway, and they go and work in a cubicle in a big city like New York City, right? And their entire world is through this little computer screen that we're looking at right here, right? And they go back and forth and back and forth, and their whole world is lived through the internet and through the media and through the television and through this thing. Their life outside of that is just eating and sleeping and going to the thing and having their little habit. That's their thing, right? They're like a little mouse going back and forth. Now, you can that city dweller, what ideologies do they have? What does that environment create? And then I contrast that with, I met some really nice folks, my kind of people in West Virginia. And it was a whole family. They came to my West Virginia meet and greet. And it was a beautiful family, husband, wife. I think it was two or was it? Now I can't think. Was it 2 or 3 girls? Anyway, they had 3 children. I think 2 or 3 children. Now they're watching this. They're going to be mad at me because I forget. But they were fighting over who would read the Summer Friend. They got a copy of the Summer Friend. Really sweet. And I talked to them for a long time. Farming people. They lived on acreage in the country. Great values, Christian values. And, hard work, honor, truth, God. It was directly infused. And the girls were reading. I love West Virginia. So I contrast the cubicle dweller with those people on the countryside. Now, for the world, most of the world, we lived the farming. Most of the human history is that farming ideal. It's only recently that the city dweller has now taken power, and now populations are concentrating in cities. And so basically, because we have we the people, population centers now control the country. So that's not bad in and of itself. It's a good thing, I think, consent of the governed. However, when these populations, there's these cities, and people start growing and to live into delusions, and it's delusions not from so much like, why does the delusion occur? The delusion occurs because they want the world to be a certain way. And it's projection of my innate human desire to have the world in the way that I want to make it. And so therefore I create that world. That's the way the world is. And I project that into the space. That's the way I vote. That's the way I believe. And so I buy into my own fantasy view of the world rather than the actual nature of humanity, and react out of that. So Yeah, Bob Bill, we're laughing at you for USA. Oh, and since we're talking about meet and greets, I really, if you guys really would, if somebody's going to come to the Savannah meet and greet, let me know. Send me a quick email, my contact page. Here's the details there, because I will be having a drink at the bar. But if I know you're coming, then I can look out for you and I won't leave early. So there's the Savannah meet and greet, March 30th. That's next Saturday. So a week from today. Is that a week from today? Yeah, a week from today. 8 o'clock, Savannah, Georgia, Saturday, March 30th, 8 p.m. at the Bow Bow Lounge at the JW Marriott Savannah Planet Riverside. Look how beautiful that is. It's a real upscale place. So go to events if you want to find out the details, and send me an email if you're going to come. So, yeah, so these delusions are dangerous because, first of all, they're false projections of the world, false representations of the world. And when we have falsity integrated into our being, we make bad decisions. We make bad decisions as a nation. This is one of the things, the advantages of a free society, is that we can self-correct. You look at a totalitarian regime, a dictatorship like going on in Russia right now. An example, I had a little, Russia just got attacked by ISIS, the terrorist jihadis that are after all people of the West and free people and anybody that's non-Islamic, really. And they had video, they videotaped themselves attacking this theater, killing hundreds and hundreds of people in this theater just recently. Hey, EU, good to see you. EU raid. Cheers, welcome. Just getting into it. And the jihadis are proud of it. They want credit. They've taken credit. They've broadcasted. They post their videos on the internet of them cutting throats and saying, go jihad and down with Russia, right? Fedor, good to see you. Unbronze, look at all these people. Tuxie, good to see you. Excited utterances here. You're just in time. So you got these ISIS people who are claiming. Now, Russia is all involved in this Ukrainian war, and they want to say, well, it's not really jihadis, it's actually Ukraine and the U.S. Now it's like it projects. They want that to be the case because their whole worldview is involved in this fight over what in Ukraine of land grab, the propaganda that's been broken. And the same thing with the U.S. I've looked in the U.S. people, and there's people in the U.S. comment section that are like, oh, it's all the Jews and the CIA. And it's like, well, what kind of evidence would convince you that it's actually ISIS? They're like cutting the throats and saying, go jihad. I mean, broadcasting it and taking credit. I mean, and all the people, what more can convince you? I mean, that's like the people themselves saying it, right? So, but that's not enough. No, I don't care what the facts are. I'm going to buy into my worldview of, and I'm not saying the CIA is great. I'm just saying that in this particular case, it appears to me that ISIS looks like they got the credit, right? It's Ukraine, and it's the CIA, and it's the Jews, and it's because of ideology. And there's no cost to that projection. There's no cost to us saying that's what it is. Yeah, right. There's yellow, orange. Yeah, we even warned, our country even warned Russia that there's an upcoming jihadi attack that we're picking up on our sensor screens, right? And it got dismissed. Oh, this sort of thing. Yeah, it's better. They want to blame you. It's a delusion. So, and this is what I'm saying. It's an ideological delusion. Now, let's assume we have a lot of people on our side that want to believe this, believe whatever they want to believe about it. Regardless of the truth, I have my ideology and I have the answer because my ideology answers all the questions. And now I'm not saying for sure it's ISIS. I'm saying it looks to me like it's probably that. All evidence points in that direction. And I don't have an ideology that just generally answers those questions for me out of front. If you just think, oh, well, that's what it is, but everything explains everything, then you're ideologically possessed. You wait, calm, look for evidence, be skeptical. I don't think that it's any of those things. It's possible, but it looks to me like it's mostly a jihadi ideology. So, And why wouldn't it be? I mean, there's a whole string of these kind of attacks. It's very in consistent with that type of ideology, right? I accept that, all right? And I'm skeptical. I mean, I'm not like, that doesn't answer. But if you have an ideology that immediately answers every question, then there's no need to think. Now, here's the question back to our topic. What cost is it to me to have that belief? So let's assume I believe it's Bigfoot and CIA and Ukraine and the Jews that are conspiring to manipulate these attackers. All right. Well, there's no cost to me for believing that. As a personal person, there's no impact on my belief on that, except that if it's false, it feeds into a false reaction. It can, now all of a sudden your country is going to be driven by these ideologies that we, the people, are projecting into our leadership. Good fella, I like your comment. Where it doesn't come over in my here. I'm gonna copy it and paste it. I don't see why doesn't it come over to my other. I'll post it here and you'll see it, because this is a good comment from Goodfellow over in Rumble. He says, so we can get the planes that are spraying the sky to change the weather due to spray ivermectin to cure the parasitic issue. Right. I mean, you get all these crazy, like the chemtrails. You ever heard of the chemtrails? That, all of these, the contrails of the planes, that's actually planes by the CIA spraying some kind of chemical into the minority communities to prevent something. I don't know. It's some delusion, but now it explains this ideological possession. And I'll tell you something else. And this is, and I'm a conservative guy I'm a right-leaning guy, right? You know that. And but I was involved with the Virgilio case, which you know too. Thank God. God bless Virgilio. Virgilio's free, and it's all well. And I'm very much a border security guy. I want to see the wall. I want to see us to have controlled. I want to have us controlled immigration. I'm pro-immigration, but I want everybody that comes to this country, don't do it legally. We need to vet them if they are, a criminal, or there's somebody that's going to just get onto the dole in our society and suck off the society. I don't want those people. I want the people that are young and vital and, will contribute to our society and be hardworking, who believe in American values. Those people, let them in. Yes, absolutely. Bring them in. But the first thing is we need to have controls over our borders. Okay, I'm all on that. Got it. And that's a big problem, because the left is bringing in huge amounts of illegals to change the demographics and to change the voting structures within the country. And it's very bad. But Virgilio is a hardworking kid, one of the most innocent people I've ever represented. Innocent kid, working hard on a farm. Got up at 5:30 in the morning, worked all day, cutting watermelons for $85 a day to send money back to his family to feed them. Innocent as innocent can be, right? And then I see these things reported, and it's like he spent 288 days in jail as an actually innocent guy. And then here he is. The media, there's media narratives, mostly on the right. Breitbart and Fox News and Robert Barnes need to be ashamed of yourself, because they're picking up on this narrative, because they have this ideology about immigration. All of a sudden, this is another guy, an immigrant who kills the cop and gets away with it because he can't speak the language. That's the way they're portraying it. And that is 100% false. False in multiple dimensions. Legal Vices has covered this really well. And it's false, it's a lie, but yet it feeds my ideology, and it's reaffirming. And that's internet driven. The ideology, you have to be able to accept contrary counterexamples. The general can be true, that immigration is a big problem, and the specific can counter that general. Those things are not in conflict. You don't need to force the facts into your ideological worldview. If you're doing that, you're making a mistake, because you're creating falsity. You're living in a false world. It's a hard thing to maintain. Actually, it's always been one of my skill levels, is to be able to deal with very individualized, ground-based facts and very large ideological concepts at the same time. But I'm begging you to abandon ideology when it let your ideology flow from facts, not your facts flow from the ideology. Cheers to that. And then you see people like, Jeff will do a stream on the Virgilio case, for example, and he'll be laying out the facts. I mean, his shows that he has been the greatest streamer on this issue. Really very careful, methodical with the facts. He's got the videos, he's got the documents, he's got everything. He puts it all together very coherently, methodically. And then everybody's like, but he's illegal. But he's illegal. He shouldn't have been here in the first place. He should, and if he hadn't been here, the guy wouldn't have died. Blah, 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 blah. And they can't get off this topic of illegal immigration. And what is it? I think it was Churchill who said, a fanatic is somebody who won't change their mind and won't change the subject. And that's what you get. So you get this agenda drawn. Like here's Roy has got it right on the money. And thank you. This is an audience participation show. Today's media is one of our greatest enemies as they rush to promote their agenda rather than seek out the truth. Absolutely. And I'm very disappointed in Breitbart and Fox and Barnes for pushing these false narratives about that case in particular. And it makes me very suspicious of everything else. Are they just feeding me another narrative? Okay, because we conservatives are very upset about the liberal media narrative. And I got a sticky here. I got to find it. Let's see. Where is one of these here? Okay, yeah, centralized narrative. So we're talking about, will humanity survive? Let's say, will individual freedom and truth survive the internet? So we have this, one of my big complaints is, and has been, the leftist narrative. ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Google, Yahoo, MSNBC, all of these, they all parrot exactly the same stuff. They're all reading from the script that's provided from some centralized organization. It's probably the DNC, right? They're all singing from the same playbook. The yellow, orange, red, you need to check into it. The narrative is false because Virgilio was actually legal. If INS had stopped him that night, they would have let him free, number one. Number two is the police violated his rights, but they had no right to stop him in the first place in 4 different ways. Virgilio never fought back. The violence was all committed against him. He was tortured by these police. And then he was charged for killing the officer when the officer died of natural causes 10 minutes after he was already locked up and put in a police car. There's a lot of falsity in that case. He came across the border as a 17-year-old. He was released to his family as a civil citation, and he has a hearing in July for which he will show up and argue his asylum claim. He had papers to able to work. So if INS, immigration, had stopped him, and the feds had stopped him, he would have been free to leave. He had an absolute right to be on the sidewalk in front of his hotel. He was on the property of his hotel on a sidewalk. That is the property of the hotel that he rented a room from. I don't know. I'm fired up. So the leftist narrative, and here's an example of the leftist narrative that you just saw, just came out. Trump said bloodbath. He was threatening a bloodbath. That is the biggest media lie. If you watch what he was talking about Chinese auto manufacturing. It was nothing to do with threatening civil war. Now, by lying, we could create a civil war situation in this country by propagating these type of lies. But yet the media all went with it. Oh, they love the fact that Trump used the word bloodbath. Not so much so, all of them parrot that. And then they take it out of context and they say that this is what was going on, which is flat out false. It's a lie and it's a slander and it should be rejected by everybody. But the entire media buys into this because it fits their narrative as Trump being this danger. Well, maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But in this case, that is a lie. But because their ideology controls their facts, they're going to push that narrative down your throat. Ugh, sick. And then Google, screw YouTube, and that's why I'm over on Rumble. Thank you, Rumblers. Good to see you, Jacob. Oh, and Slidey Pie's here. Good to see you. Good fella D over all my rumblers. Screw Google, because Google goes back and changes the definition in the dictionary to take away the meaning of bloodbath. The third definition, which is an economic meaning that was actually part of it, they actually changed the dictionary on us so that when people start looking up bloodbath, it comes up and it's like, oh my God, and this is a thing. And the definition that Trump was using is not even there because we rely on the internet. Now, so what is the internet? They've created a falsehood. They've changed the dictionary so that the words fit the facts that they want to promote. Is that truthful? Is truth surviving this internet invasion? I don't know. I'd say no in this case. And the same thing. So I'm picking on the left on that one. The right, the Virgilio's case is a perfect example of a counter narrative. It's a narrative. And I reached out to several of these conservative. In fact, I emailed every one of them. I emailed the writers of the stories on the Breitbart case, the stories in the Fox case, and Barnes. I reached out to all three of them to say, you need to correct this. You're false. This is not the case to fight. But no one responds. Nobody cares because it supports their narrative, so they're going to go with their narrative. Screw that. Let's go with the truth. Okay. Centralized narratives are a threat to humanity, a threat to truth, a threat to individual freedom. There's a lot of ruin in the nation. Wealth creation separate from accountability. See, you wonder where these ideas, this is what I write. Okay, like ISIS, Moscow, Jews in the Ukraine were involved. And then Jonestown's a good example. Does everybody know the Jonestown example? You had 1,000 people commit ritualistic self-destruction down in Guyana, French Guyana, very much a leftist commune from California. Jim Jones ran it. And he took all these crazy lefties who were believing in this ideology and they drank the Kool-Aid. You want to know where the Kool-Aid drinking comes from? It comes from Jonestown, where they poisoned Kool-Aid with cyanide and 1,000 people went up and drank it. Now, some were murdered, some were forced. Parents killing their children, people killing, they would rather commit suicide than give up their ideology. When they find that their world that they have, that the reality is different from the world, they would rather drink the Kool-Aid and self-delete than change their worldview. That's a frightening statement on humanity. Rumble's losing its ghetto status will be the same without the grit. I don't know. No, it was over 1,000. Jonestown. Let me see. Let's look that up. You're questioning my facts, and I honor that. Let's see here. $918 people died. Yeah. So this is a frightening thing. People say, well, a lot of the conservatives look over and say, well, let them suffer in those cities. Let them suffer in California, pour it on. We'll just write them off. And eventually they'll learn because they'll punish themselves enough with their own ideology that they will learn and they'll turn and they'll learn the thing, right? Yes, that's true. But it's not true. Because in Jonestown, they proved that they would rather self-delete than give up their ideology. That they would go all the way. Yeah, if you don't know about Jonestown, look into it and say, what does that say about ideological possession? Jessica Reloaded's here. I can answer this question. Look here. Jessica Reloaded, here is the hard copy of Death Penalty Desires, Passion, Lust, Desire. This is the proof copy, proof 1 of 1. These should be shipping out end of next week. Okay. These are heavy. These are 2.8 pounds. Look at that. It's beautiful. Look at the inside of that baby. I mean, big print. It's 13-point print. So you'll be getting it out soon. I sent everybody who ordered the hardcovers, I sent you the ebook free because you guys are waiting a little bit. Yes, the drink is delicious. This is the sidecar, but the famous sidecar. Here's another one, yellow, orange, red. A lot of these cultists, those people, the Hale Bop Comet spaceship people. Yeah. So, yeah. Look here. I mean, and I'll just let you read that. That's exactly right. Ideological possession is creating people to physically mutilate their children. Heaven's Gate, right? So I'm not certain there's any bottom to ideological possession. It's very dangerous. So will humanity survive the internet? Will freedom, individual freedom and truth survive the internet? Now, these examples are pre-internet. So the Heaven's Gate and the Jonestown were both pre-internet. But it tells you something about humanity's fundamental wiring. That is that ideologically possessed people will never give up their ideology, even when it confronted with hard truths of death and child mutilation. They would rather self-delete than admit that they're wrong. And Danielle, make sure we have any anti-Semites are subject to immediate deletion and excommunication from my chat. All right, so let me see if I can do it. All right, I did it. Okay, so and one of the things is I am not going to tolerate nastiness. We're going to get into that in a second. I've got to hold. We're only starting here. Shutdown culture. Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't know if you saw, but there was a college, a university that had shutdown culture that shouted down Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse he was defending himself with his AR and killed 2 people, injured 1 who were attacking him. And he was not guilty by reason of self-defense. He has a life of self-defense to fight. Okay, so I don't know what I've got to shut down Kyle is. That was organized by the internet. Those people organized themselves and learned about what he had to say through this mass communication medium. Yes, it's a honey. It's a like a crystallized honey. It's not this like, but it's like a creamy honey, and then I dip it in brown sugar. It's really sweet and complete pancreatic destruction. So it's a conundrum. And Charles S., you are again over the target. You are a great chatter. Thank you for being here and participating, because your input is exactly on the point. This is a conundrum. We are tribal. We divide ourselves based on ideology, creed, race, etc. How do we change human nature? A couple things, and I've got a whole book on this to prepare. It has to begin from the individual if we're to preserve truth. And that means you who are watching, you need to fight against this own ideological possession within ourselves. See it within yourselves. I also am a Christian, and I believe in the universal brotherhood of man. Christianity is a universal religion. And I think that's a big part of it. So I've got a book on this. Prepare is about this topic, but I'm adding into this the internet element. Yeah, it's this cancel culture. So I don't know what I meant by good-hearted people. So that one's over there. Let's see. False media narratives. Let's see, which one can I go to next? Well, and let's talk about this, because I just silenced somebody in my chat, and people have their ideological bugaboos. They have their enemies, right? Hey, good to see you, Jeff, from Michigan, huh? Yeah, here's example. The false reporting about Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, George Floyd destroyed entire communities. And those were divisive. Those were picked specifically by the media to divide us, because people in the minority culture have a certain experience with police and the justice system, and it fed their narrative. The narrative that was being fed by the media resonated with those people who have interactions with the police and negative interactions with the police. And then a lot of other people said, oh, no, that's not the way it was. So we had this battle. There, if you remember at the time, I forget which one it was. I think it was the Michael Brown. There was another cop shooting a black guy from behind. If you remember, it was in South Carolina. It was ridiculous. The video, the cop was there and he planted the gun. He went, the big black guy was running, he's fat and he's running away. And the cop pulls his gun out and shoots him in the back from behind from like 30 feet, and then goes up and plants a gun on him. And it was recorded. Everybody was against the cop. The cop got 20 years in prison for that, right? But see, that unified people. That's like, okay, we all agree. The minority community, the whole country agreed that that was murder and it was evil and it was bad. And that was exactly the same time. And the media didn't pick up on that one at all, because it didn't divide people. They want to play to your ideological narrative. And that's, so if you're in a minority community and you see one of these killings, be skeptical of what the media is feeding you, because they want to feed your preconceptions. Same thing on the other side. Be very, very careful about what you believe in, and what, because here's what happens. People self-radicalize on the internet. They self-radicalize. Let's see, we've got a lot of chatters here. So like, let's assume that I'm a white guy and I have I think that like there's, a bunch of people that are being attacked, that are from the minorities, are attacking us white people. Okay. So I search and I know all the instances. And so every time one of those instances comes where there's a minority attacking a white person, I know that. And it's like, boy, I pay attention. I catalog that on my list. And so now I have 100 examples that I can tell you about. And now it becomes true, because not only do I have the ideology, it's reinforced by examples that I have scoured the internet for, and it agrees with my narrative. Or the opposite could be true. Let's assume you're in a minority community and you see the white cops beating up the white black guy, right? Boom, boom, boom. And so I find out all the internet, and I'm going to get all these examples, and I can watch over and over all these instances of these bad cops beating up the minority guy. Okay. And I have 100 examples there, and that feeds my ideology. And now these two people confront, and one person says the problem is this way, and the other one says the problem is this way. And then they say, well, I know I'm right because I have all these examples. And the other person says, I know I'm right because I have all my examples. But, the facts are there to support both sides. And the ideological possession allows those people never to agree. It divides people. So we can self-radicalize. The question is it true really in the aggregate? Is it true in the total statistical truth? Is it totally true? I mean, what are the trends? Is crime growing or is crime dropping? That's a question. Thank you, Charles S. You bought Prepare. I really appreciate that. You should buy Prepare. Prepare. Ask Danielle. She's my biggest fan when it comes to Prepare. And I very much believe in it's a very complex and unusual book. But Charles S., I think you will like it. I really would like you to read it and reflect on it, and send me an email and tell me what you think of it, because it's kind of my personal philosophy, and I think a lot about these questions. I'm not a hippie anymore. You like my haircut, huh? So let's just be careful, very careful when we get all puffed up. Go into things with some humility, some skepticism, some moderation. Be gentle. Yeah, see, Danielle, she knows. Yes, and thank you, Charles. That's very kind. So, okay, so, and I'll tell you, okay, so we have the internet amplified negative. this is another concept of the internet that I want to talk about. And this is kind of, this all kind of relates. This is, like I said, I don't really have any great, prepare is my great solution. All right. But I want to talk about this problem, these generalized problems that are confronting us as a people, as a humanity. It's confronting humanity. And that is internet amplified negatives. So what happens is, and I got to say, I am very blessed. I've got a very kind chat. Whenever I go onto people's programs, whenever I go onto people's streams, everybody's like, Gosney, they love me, and it's always very positive. And I see that, and I see how other people aren't so welcomed, Now, occasionally I know that they think I dominate the streams and I sell my books. Okay, that's my main criticisms. Okay, I get it. But generally, I get very good feedback from the chats. And some people don't. Some people really get a rough reception, or a lot more polarizing, let's say. Let me see here. And so, but yet negativity can really drag you down. One negative comment can really poison the well. And part of this is, I'm doing this. I've resolved, like I said, I had to step away from streaming to consider what I was doing. And I want to do this because I think I have something to say, something to share, and something worthwhile to say. I've thought about these things. I've lived a longer life than some of the younger folks. And I've been through a lot. So I think I have something to say and add. But it's because it's positive that I'm doing it. And enough negatives, and it wouldn't be worthwhile to me, because my life is pretty darn good, and I don't want to poison that with negativity from the internet. I don't like negativity. I want my life to be happy. So, but yet negative comments are so much more powerful. Here's a good comment from T. Underwood. How about those who walk down the middle of the road? Conservative is sometimes, yet liberal in others. Politically, I agree. I do think it's important to resolve the political issue. You should talk politics. Talk about it with people who have your best interest at heart, who are seeking the truth, though. Don't just spout off. What's this? Jessica says, as someone who owns and has read almost all your books, I think people own at least one copy of one of your books are doing self a disservice. Oh, thank you, Jessica. Which ones do you like the best? I can't wait for you to read my new novel, because there's a lot more meaning in it than, it's not just a sexy novel, although it is a sexy, exciting mystery crime novel. There's also some subtle Gosney in it. So I look forward to hearing what you say. Yeah, it's a running joke. I have a book to sell all the time, but I write. I mean, that's what I enjoy writing, and I've got something to say. I don't write junk. I write meat and potatoes and something that's worthwhile reading. I really do believe in what I write. I think I'm not just writing for things. Good to see you, Zach. Okay, so internet amplified negatives. And I will say that, well, and I want to get into the sex differences too, because between men and women, I want to talk about men and women and how the internet has impacted both sexes and created a very negative thing. Yeah, Gigi knows. So I'm going to get a little more aggressive with shutting down people who are negatives in my chats. I will just say that I want to be, if people are attacking me, I had somebody come in and attack me very personally on one of my chats once, and it upset me. And I don't need to be upset by some stupid person on the chat, but they knew enough about me, knew how to attack me and make me really upset. You're basically going on somewhere to drag people down and to make the world unhappy and miserable. Those people, I don't have time for that. I want the world to be happy. And, you need to go and get your life in order and come back and talk. We went and saw Jordan Peterson, and he was wonderful. A big Jordan Peterson fan. Okay, Jessica says, Prepare is my favorite so far, but Ideas and Answers was very informative as well and made me think more. Really interesting. Yeah, Ideas and Answers is my bestseller, and that's my hard legal essays. I've got if you like Ideas and Answers, I'm going to have my next book is going to be a whole book on why the death penalty is unconstitutional. The Florida's death penalty statute is unconstitutional, and it would be it's a training manual for death penalty appellate attorneys. But you can also read it to learn why the death penalty is unconstitutional in Florida if you want to really get hard law on the death penalty. And it's actually part of a series of 3. And the first book is Death Penalty Desires. And the PG version is for my training purposes, for my fellow attorneys and for my office. Desires is for the full version for you guys that don't mind a little smut. But the PG version is Death Penalty Desired, the blue. And then you read that one, then Death Penalty Debates. Then the next one's Death Penalty Designs, which is so it's that trilogy is the death penalty trilogy. It's meant to be read in that order: Desired, Debates, then Designs. It can be pretty discouraging, though. I have a tight friend group. I've been trying to gently nudge them away from mail order culture, Uber Eats, Kroger. The ideas build community. Everybody prefers convenience. Yeah, Charles, man, you are great. Thank you very much for the $20 and the book purchase. Thank you very much. And $20, $80 more, and Danielle will get a summer friend. Danielle, what do you think about that? A hardcover summer friend for Danielle for $100 of super chat. Because I want Danielle to have a complete set because I haven't done anything for her recently, and I need to make sure she's happy. And Danielle, have you read? You've got a copy. Didn't I send you a copy of Death Penalty Desires? Okay, so we have internet amplification of the negative. Now, the evolution has shown, I've talked about this on other streams, but I want to repeat it here. Evolution amplifies negative thoughts for a very good purpose, and that is, if you think back in your life, usually you think about your life span, you're generally defining yourself by your negative experiences. You remember that time that grandma died, or that time that you were abused, or that time that you got in a fight, or you think, when you look back in your life, the first things you think about is all those negative milestones. I got fired from my job. And it takes a lot more work to think about all the positive things. It's like, well, what good things have happened to you? I don't know what happened to me. I don't have to think about it. And that's an exercise, and I talk about this in Prepare. It's an exercise to remember those things. When you have positive experience, write them down. Remember them consciously. Make an effort towards remembering the good things in your life, because our brain is hardwired to recognize negative, because that's danger. And danger allowed us to survive throughout human history. So, the alligator, I use the example of the crocodile in the stream, killed my buddy. So be careful, look for crocodiles next time you're at the stream drinking, because they can kill you. And that's a negative experience, but it's survival experience. It allows me to survive in the world, right? Whereas, having a gentle moment looking at the stars with the mother of my children, right? That's a meaningful and important part of your life, but that experience doesn't aid in my survival in the long term generally. So that's why genetically and evolutionary wise, we have been trained so that negative energy is very powerful. Negative comments are very powerful. Okay, I want to internet amplified negative. Let me see here. I want to talk about male-female relationships in a second, but let's see, I've got so many little, guess I could get in there. Okay, so we've got this one here. So we got this little sticky. Amplified negative emotions, confirmation bias, racist feeds himself, anti-immigrant feeds their own narrative by examples, right? So we got this sticky. So I'll put that one over there. See, I have a little agenda, and I'm just picking it through. This is a little scattered. This is random thoughts that kind of go together. So I apologize if it's not completely coherent, but we're having fun. It's Saturday, and we're thinking, and what better thing to do with your Saturday? So here's another danger. Now, will humanity survive? And my question, I'm going to modify that. Will truth and individual freedom survive the internet. Here's another positive. We talked about how people would rather drink the Kool-Aid than confront their ideological possession. That is a negative part of humanity that is there, right? Hey, Diane, thank you very much. Good to see you. And remember those positive. What I want you to do is go out. So one of the little tricks, and the idea is Prepare talks about it, because we recognize negative has much more power than positive. You need to consciously decide to go out and remember the positive things. Go out and every day, and that's why being thankful in Christianity, you pray and you pray for you count your blessings. You thank God for the blessings. You count them. You recognize, I have health. I have a family that loves me. I have a beautiful son. I have, whatever things in your life that you have life. And there's something to be thankful for. Some people have a whole pile of things to be thankful for. Some have less, but everybody has something to be thankful for. Be thankful for those things and recognize them consciously as a way to defeat the negative energies. Yeah, we're really mindful of like even simple things like air conditioning. Oh my goodness, what would I do without air conditioning? My car that runs reliably, my high blood pressure medicine that allows me to live. Okay, so here's another problem. And this is a little negative stream. I should take another drink of my sugar. Yummy sugar. Okay. We are not in control of technology. Humanity itself is not in control of technology. Technology is in control of us. Now, that is a frightening prospect, but I posit to you that it is true. Technology is barreling ahead. It exists. We can't uninvent it. We can't unsee it. And it is charging forward. And there's nothing that we can do as a people to stop it. And that's a very difficult reality. We can regulate it somewhat, but technology will continue. And I'm going to harken back now. Why do I say that? Because there is this idea that, well, we're just going to go back to farming communities and this sort of thing, which is a proper response. And my friends from West Virginia remind me that there is a Benedictine option, which is a really good book by Rod Dreher called The Benedictine Option, which is an example for what Christians could do to prevent the destruction of the light of freedom and faith in a coming dark age. Almost out. So technology is in control of us. I'm going to give you an example. And this, you think, well, when you say technology, you think about like the internet, which we're talking about here. But I'm going to go back 100 years. I'm going to go back to 1914, 1917, World War I. One of the major causes of the American entry into World War I was the advent of the submarine. The submarine was a new technology. And for hundreds of years, the British Empire had ruled the seas with their boats. And the British Navy, the Royal Navy, God bless the Royal Navy, did away with the slave trade the Royal Navy did. So salute to them, the Brits. I love the Brits. I must say, I do respect the Brits. Well, let's get here. We'll come back to that. Locus of control. Dictionary Diva, thank you for the super chat. Locus of control is primary component of mindset and thus how individual interacts with the world. External locus of control equals negative mindset. Oh, interesting. Dictionary Diva adding some spice to the conversation. This is what I love. Thank you for the super chat and the excellent point. Very good. Got to think about that one. Okay, so we've got an unbronzed Aussie. It says, last 3 years, my list of things that make me happy and I'm thankful for is finally outweighing the negative. God bless you. And as you get older, people get happier as they get older because they learn to avoid the negatives and focus more on the positives. I'm become happier as I've gotten older, for sure. Because things that make me unhappy, I don't participate in. You know, even flatworms avoid pain. Yeah, so technology is a double-edged sword. There's, on the one hand, it's rescued us from poverty and slavery and toil and extended our lives. There's many blessings of technology. I'm just saying that technology, we are not in control of technology. Okay, so back to the World War I example. The Royal Navy ruled the seas, and they established the law of the seas. The law of the seas was very, very basic about how to preserve life on the open ocean, how to take a prize, how to, the law was designed for surface warfare, surface ships, and they had a very distinctive method. Oh, by the way, Dictionary Diva, so 25, so 75 more super chats or Rumble rants, and Danielle gets a summer friend in hardback, which is her last hardback that she needs. This is going to be my running deal for y'all. But you could do it tonight, 75 more dollars. That's a little commercial. But I want Danielle to have a summer friend, and I'm not sure how to do it other than that. So the British had set up the status of law for dealing with technology. And then this new technology comes along called the submarine, which allowed Germany to go toe-to-toe with the British Navy on the open ocean and avoid their vast numerical superiority, leverage technology to create a blockade of England during World War I using submarines. And the Americans could not get over the law as it existed. The new technology was not accommodated for by the existing maritime law. And so we would fall back on our law and say, well, this submarine needs to surface and let the people get off their lifeboats before they do it. But the problem is if they surfaced, they were vulnerable to attack, and the surface ship would reveal some guns and blast the submarine, and then the submarine was dead. So the technology itself did not fit into the law. And that technology, that advance of technology, caused us to enter World War I. Goodfellas picking on my vocabulary. Ships and boats. I'm just talking. You understand what I'm saying. English, the language is meant to communicate. That's what I seek to do, is communicate effectively. So what do we got here? Destruction of industries. Oops, I'm sorry, wrong one. This one here. Unrestricted submarine warfare in World War I tech. We are not in control of tech. Tech is in control of us. Okay, point made. Now, Fedorevsky, I have to tick an option when uploading videos to YouTube to tell them I've used any kind of AI. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Or deepfake on my videos, and it will add a warning to people so they know it's fake. Yes, this is a very good point. And that goes to my next question. When one of these things around here, let's see which one it is. Okay, here it is right here. AI and fake evidence. We've gotten to the point, if you depend on this frame, this internet thing, and remember the person who lives in their cubicle, goes to the subway in their cubicle, and their whole world comes from the internet, as opposed to my West Virginia friends who are living on the farm and working and living in touch with the nature and the world. And the internet is great, but it's got a little place in the corner where they go study their books and they have other stuff, right? But when your world is consumed, it's an artificial reality created by the internet. All of a sudden, AI, you are deeply susceptible to AI and to deepfakes. You are vulnerable to somebody faking, President Trump or President Biden saying something that they didn't. And that's a very dangerous thing. Some malevolent person, and obviously we have terrorism. They could start they can start a war. Yeah, this is a good, Diane's got a really good, get back to talking in person no matter what. Yeah, maybe you should practice talking with other people. Even tell them, we're so internet based. Let's just work on our discussion. Let's work on small talk. Huh. Okay, so I think I pretty much covered that one. Another part of this is distraction. Well, I don't know where should I get this because I don't want to. I'm trying to figure out what the best order is. I'm going to leave these on the end. Can we talk men and women? I've been doing a deep dive on the male-female relationship. Now, I've been married 24 years. At this point, I think it's pretty much a done deal. But that being said, my son is 19 and he's a single. And I want the best for him, and that means I want grandbabies. I want him to have a beautiful, happy marriage that lives on for his whole life and makes him complete. I think men and women complement each other. We need to have. It's the basis of family. The male-female relationships is the basis of family. Family is the core of humanity. It's what allows us the greatest joys and the heartbreaks, but support. It gives us human connection. We're not complete without each other. And it's an important aspect of humanity. Now, let's talk about the internet and male-female impact on men and women. All right, well, do you want me to start with men or women first? I'm going to start with men and women, and then we'll talk about relationships. I guess we'll start with females first, okay? So one of the things is when I was growing up, and most boys, I will say, when we're growing up, women are absolutely mysterious. And we don't understand what's going on over there. And it's intriguing and nobody knows, all right? I will say that the internet has pretty much revealed feminine sex drive, feminine desire. In a large part, is that the female instinct is what they call hypergamous. And hypergamous means that they target the top of the pyramid for the hierarchy of whatever hierarchy it is. And they will let the hierarchy and the dominant structure of whatever hierarchy they're interested in determine the winner, and they will pick the winner of that dominance hierarchy, or at least the one who is ascending that hierarchy. Yes, and fathers are leaders, and this is a traditional view, and I'm completely bought in. I married my wife, who is a very traditional woman, because she brings those values and that. So yes, it is hate speech. It isn't that sad. It's controlling us, okay? But I think that female hypergamy is a defining characteristic, and they've had a lot of, like, what is it? These Tinders and these dating profiles have very much determined that women look to a top small percentage of men as their targets, and any men that fall below that criteria are basically invisible. And this is not a good thing because, well, we're going to talk about men too, so we're going to be equally offensive to both sides. I'm just observing from the sidelines at this point, all right? But I'm concerned about this because I would say that in the past, it would say before the internet, hypergamous nature would express itself within, say, your high school class or your college class or your workplace or your community, right? Your world was small, and people separated themselves out and defined themselves out from within their community as it existed. But now, let's look at it from the female perspective. They're looking at men across the world, measuring men around them by a standard of an international standard or even a countrywide national standard, because all of these people are on these profiles, And they're looking at the top percentage of men in the world and saying, that's who I want. And none of the men around them measure up. For better or worse, I'm just making an observation. All right. And that's how hypergamy the internet has impacted the female desire for the female desires. It's impacted them because the world has been skewed by the internet. And when you're young and powerful and at the peak sexual marketplace value, there's many, many men that will feed that desire for adoration and whatever the word is. So my point is that kind of women's secrets are out. And here's another problem with the internet. Okay, so I'm just observing how has this impacted women. Women are looking for this top percentage of men, and now the worldwide nature of things has made the men around them a lot less desirable. For better or worse, it's an observation. The next thing is social media, I think, has disproportionately impacted women for a number of reasons. And girls get on social media, and it's addictive because men are generally interested in things. And these are generalities. It may not be specific. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about general. Men generally are interested in things like guitars, for example. And women are generally interested in people. Because of that, social media has a disproportionate impact on females. So, yeah, the sidecar may be affecting this. That's right. So, how to sidecar. Okay. So social media has impacted females in a much harder way because they're putting their life out there, and they're interacting with people, and all of this affirmation and this social networking that women do is now amplified it's worldwide now. And they feel that they need to put forward this image on the internet that becomes them. They create this avatar and live in the world through their avatar, which is not reality. It's instead their social media profile. And they seek to impress, and a lot of it is competition with other women. They want to show other women what they're doing and what they're looking and how they're being treated and what they're showing off to each other. And this goes back to female warfare. So men generally are, physical, direct, confrontational, and hierarchical. Women tend to, because of the physical differences, this is observations, females tend to engage in social warfare. So they don't go direct. Instead, what they do is they say, I'm going to line up all my friends, and you're going to line up all your friends, and we're going to have a contest to see who's more popular, and we're going to who can influence the groups. And this is why female warfare tends to kind of be endless. It's like a long-term contest of popularity and of ranking each other and who can I influence and who can I get on my team. And social media really amplifies that contest and that social warfare in the female side. And you see a lot of young girls suffering tremendously because they get bullied. They get bullied at school, and then they get bullied through the internet, which is now their world. And the internet is now their social media. And all of a sudden, all these girls that are against them, then their opponents, are lining up everybody to attack them. And worlds are creating great depression in them and actually to self-deletion. You've seen that in our thing. It's very dangerous and very poisonous to our girls. Very sad. And this is the internet that's doing this, right? It would happen before, but there was an escape. You could go home and live with your family and live. But now when you got your cell phone and it's around you all the time and somebody says something bad about you on the social media and you try to battle it, you could get overwhelmed, especially the meek and the humble and the kind-hearted who are disproportionately affected by negatives. So very sad. Yes, and some of us men appreciate the old tomboys. So I'm not dissing. I'm not. In fact, I'm a big fan of the tomboys. So we're not talking about that. I'm talking about social media having a disproportionately negative impact on the females of our population. So females, hypergamy, women's secrets are out, social media, and female social warfare. Okay, and I will add to this, and let me, as a tangent of that, because that's the young girls who are basically the ones that we need to protect for, who are the prime mating candidates. Those are our daughters who are going to marry our sons, right? A corollary to that, as the ladies get older, is called Karen culture. You know what Karen culture is? I have this group called Next Door. So it's a next door with our community. And I think it's great. Okay, it's a social network of people that live around me in my community. And I go on there and I'm like, oh, this is great. So we can now get in touch with each other and network and have our neighborhood, right? Create a larger neighborhood through the internet. I'll tell you, it is the most negative, nasty place I've ever. It's frightening. I go on there. You can't say anything because there's a Karen culture on there. There's people they call the Karens. Did you see those kids, those teenagers playing out in the fields, the other next to the community center? Did you see those kids, those teenagers? You know, I love the kids. I go in my community, I see the kids playing in the street, and I see kids. I'm like, this is great. You know, the kids are out here and they're having fun. They're outside. They're playing football or whatever. That's great. You know, but instead it's something that's happening that they've got to report on. It's out of the unusual. I'm going to call the police. There's a bunch of teenagers out there. It's a threat. It's like, really? Or they want to talk about the restaurant, the bad service that they had in this restaurant. I'm going to line up. I'm going to create warfare because I was treated disrespected by this restaurant. So I'm going to line up my social media, see if I can create war against this restaurant that they treated me bad. They gave me the check and they didn't give me the service and they didn't. You know, it's like this Karen. It's all negative. It's negative, negative, negative. Oh. So Karen culture and next door, it's like it's just as bad locally. And that to me is an outgrowth, again, of that social warfare thing. So let's talk about men. Yeah, exactly. Kids going outside. Yay. The roots of cancel culture. That's right. It's very poisonous. So let's not do this. Let's be positive. I don't know. I mean, I think it's yeah, see there? I mean, there's T. Underwood saying, I had to back out of our local town social website because of the negativity. I don't go on. I mean, I've got it. And every time I go on there, I'm like, oh my gosh, the negativity on here is just insane. This is just my local community. Makes me want to move out of town, go to West Virginia and hang out with my friends up there. I'm ready to come to the farm. They're such honest and good people up there. I love the country folks that are not so Karenized. Karen culture is the perfect example of locus of control. Okay, here's dictionary deepfake. Karens believe their unhappiness is located externally. Perfect. Oh, I love it. Dictionary deepfake, you are genius. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Perfect. And then complain about it. Yeah. Let's see. How are we doing over here? I got to check do I have any Rumble rants? No. Okay. I hear Rumble rants don't show up in my StreamYard. So, all right. So now we have the man's side. Men are now recognizing that most of them are invisible. Okay. So at least 80% of the men are invisible. And Danielle and I both have sons. And we worry very much about our sons entering into this world because I would like for him to meet a beautiful woman, have little grandbabies. Maybe it's a little selfish interest. But to me, the greatest thing that's ever happened to me is marrying my wife and having my son. Everything else pales in comparison. Those two things were success as far as I'm concerned. And my life is happy because of those two things more than anything. But when men are deemed invisible and they basically see the standards that are being set for them by the opposite sex as being impossible, they see these standards as impossible, and they're lonely now, and they're being overlooked. A lot of them give up. A lot of them give up and they disconnect. They're no longer dating, and they're checking out. They call it men going their own way. And so they basically say, well, I'm giving up on the whole game and taking my money and taking my cards and taking everything that I am, and I'm not playing the game. Now, how does the internet fail? Well, first of all, it illuminates that problem early on. Second is it offers men alternatives to the sexual marketplace and the dating game, and that is video games and porn. So the sexual desire is satisfied through porn, which is a quick, self-indulgent way of satisfying a sexual need rather than that impelling them to go for women. It's like, okay, and I got the porn, it's click away and it's a beautiful woman and I can do whatever I want and find whatever proclivities I want. And then now it's out of the way, right? And second is video games, which have become so good and they're very intoxicating and they give men a level of success, immediate gratification. They're very well tuned to the brain so that now the man is like, normally I get pride and achievements. Like when I finish my book, it's like I got that book. And I got to say that the point at which I really feel like I've accomplished something is when I get the hardback. See, that's why I look for this, because that's an accomplishment. I've got the nice big hardback and the top quality. I've made something great. And accomplishment comes from that, right? But see, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get from where I was to where I am. But that sense of accomplishment is earned. A video game gives you that kind of, it's unearned accomplishment. It's a false accomplishment. It's a lie, but it does satisfy that male desire for accomplishment. It feeds that. And so it's very addictive. It's just like social media is addictive to females. Video games and porn is addictive to men and has impacted the relationships. Yes, unbronzed, very good. Being kind and truthful is a hard road, seems these days, but in the end, it's a happier one. Absolutely. Truth is the only way to happiness. That's a requirement. Let's see, what are you saying? I can't keep it. Yes. You got your point across. We got it. Dictionary Diva has given me some great stuff. Let's see. I'm neutral mirroring. I got to think through this because you're talking at a high level, so I'm going to try to catch up here. I believe the internet is an offshoot of this concept. If a woman's internal programming is set to believe that a game is rigged against her, a man's fault, that's reflected. Yes, very good. Yeah, see, here's Charles S. See, he's echoing what I'm saying about, of course, men going their own way, which is a byproduct of the internet culture and the poison that's been put in. It's affected women greater than men, I would say, because of the social media, because women have a smaller window in which to make their decisions. But a lot of good men just check out and say, I'm not interested because it's too much work and the reward is. And the other thing is you have a reward from a woman who you get married and then gets divorced and you can't see your children. It can destroy you. I mean, it's a lot of risk involved in marriage nowadays. Yeah, Gigi, see, she's echoing. So men, passport bros. A lot of men are basically going abroad because they don't see the traditional values being reflected in the danger. It's interesting because this idea of passport, maybe I'm a trendsetter because 24 years ago, I met my wife in the Philippines. I don't know. Maybe I was ahead of the curve. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. But I do love the traditional family. That's one of the things that greatly attracted me, was that she believed in, I did not want a divorce. And so I wanted a woman who was a believer in marriage, believer in family, and that she did. She's very pretty and cute, which is a precondition, and young, which is, precondition, right? And cute and skinny. I mean, she had it all. And she had great family. Come on, my wife, she's great. And, now we're not so skinny, not so young, right? But we have a son and we have many memories together and we have a lifetime and we have something. In fact, if you read Death Penalty Desires, there is a little quote at the end that comes directly from my marriage about how you should have, what you should expect out of life. But yellow, orange, red, you're saying this. No, I'm not saying it. See, you're hearing the negative. See, there's a good example. You're saying that women are causing all these problems, that greedy women are making. See, that's not what I'm saying. See, you're picking up on the negative that I'm saying about women. And that's amplified because that's more personal, right? I'm also saying a balanced thing about men too, because I don't think that porn and video games is good for men either. But you're not hearing that because it's the negative that's impacting you is more important. So I'm not casting. I'm saying the internet is the problem. Humanity is the problem. I'm just talking about these problems. And you're saying you don't buy that 80% are invisible. No, I hate to. That is actually demonstrated. Okay, so that is a fact. I'm sorry. Women are checking out our dating too. They think, yes, well, and that could be. And I think this is an internet product. Could be that women are checking out too. But again, okay, we'll get to the next. Okay, so that paper, we'll get to the next one, which is male-female relationships. Okay, yellow, orange, red, where you kind of segued me right into my next thing. Let's see here. Yeah, and it may be that, well, this is a complicated concept. I'm going to recommend a couple people if you want to hear. Let me see. Yeah, okay, here it is, male-female relationships. If you want to hear, because, okay, there's a lot of sides on this. It's very complex, and this show really, in my stuff, I'm not in the game. I'm observing, and I'm old and out of it. So, like I remember Megan Fox saying, why don't you just go to the local, what was it? Did she say the Auto Mart or something Yes, well, see there, you're Sue's Mart. I was not invisible in my 20s, but definitely in your 50s. And that's true. That's exactly true. You just nailed it right there. Yes, that's exactly true. And that's why if you want to hear a guy who talks about male-female relationships, go to a website called Alexander Grace. And he is a very much a person that analyzes this stuff. Now, there are some people out there that are what they call red pilled, or people that are just like anti-women, or men go their own way and they push this, like they don't want men to be participating. And then there's women that do that too. There's women that are anti-male and they want the sexes. I want the sexes to get along. I want us to appreciate each other and make each other better, because neither side is right. Neither side is perfect. We're both broken and fallen. And together we make each other better. Yeah, the auto parts store. That's what it was. Thank you, Charles. That was funny. I might even have that card. Yeah, she got bombed by the. It was very funny. Yeah, it was. Well, it was a dumb thing. Yeah, but see, this is the thing. We're older, and it worked back in the day, and there was a lot of naivete. It was from a good place, a good heart. It wasn't malicious, but. Okay, so we are stronger together. Yes, absolutely. It's not always possible. But these are tough problems. Alexander Grace, I'd recommend him for as far. Okay, we got that. I'm running out. Okay, so let's move off the male-female stuff. Yeah, yellow lunches. So you're picking up on it. That's correct, because men and women have different value systems and different things that they're looking for, and the men that are young and not of the type of hierarchy are visible, and the women that are older and have issues, they're looking. Men are looking at different. Those people are invisible. So it's different areas are invisible. It's men and women have different ways of looking at things. And this transactional. And so here's one of the things I want to insight. And I don't think that I don't want to cause problem. I want people to get together. But what was it? I did get that. Both program believe it. Transactional. Okay, so a lot of these things, and here's why there's hope beyond what I'm saying, because what we're talking about is the dating world. That's how men and women identify who their spouse and their partner is. Okay, but the traditional values and the ones that I want to promote, the ideal is that once you have selected, you make that selection, you become an us, and you become something greater. And then all those criteria don't matter anymore. Like my wife and me, like the belly and the bald spot and all the things that are imperfect, right? Okay, we live with each other's imperfections, but we make each other better. And it doesn't matter so much all these surface things that matter when you're first selecting. Once you make the selection, you become a we and you become greater. That's the idea. And so it doesn't matter that my wife, like she would be in, what was it? And it was Branca, and Branca gets hammered because he sees only the faults in the women. I see the faults in the women and the men. So I say we're both flawed. But somebody posted baiting Branca or baiting people, like, and they posted sort of a middle-aged looking woman who was a decent looking woman, but middle-aged, right? Who would be invisible to most men who were looking for a wife. But they said, what do you see? You know, is this person beautiful? And Branca posted, well, who is she to me? Which is the right answer, because if that's your wife of 20 years, she's the most beautiful person on earth, right? And that's the same thing with a man or with a woman. Like if that some guy who's got the belly looking kind of like scruffy like we are here, okay, maybe if we were 20s and you were young and powerful and beautiful and you had it all and you're all these suitors and maybe that guy wouldn't be on your radar. But now we've been married 25 years. That's the husband who's given you your children, who's supported you, who's loved you, who's been faithful to you. That man is the most beautiful person on earth. Okay. Anyways, I just wanted to talk a little bit about will humanity survive the internet? I want to talk about how it's impacted male, female. I don't have any great answers. I'm just observing. And this is kind of what I'm observing. Okay, let's look at some more stuff. Internet creates distraction. Like, I think I'm providing some pretty interesting content here. And I went to Jordan Peterson and I read some books and I read some interesting books and I write some interesting books. And I try to create substance and something that's meaningful. There's so many people that are wrapped up in absolute trivial stuff. Now, I will say that the trivial stuff sometimes can be a distraction. A sidecar is a distraction. There's no meaning here. It's just relaxation and nothing, right? I get it. There's a lot of movies up here that are just absolute trivia. However, does the trivia overwhelm substance to the point that nobody is engaging in substantive learning anymore? They aren't engaged with the world in a way that is connected. Like, for example, low attention span kind of swipe. Oh, that's boring. This is stupid. I don't need to know that. And the thing is that you see these people that get interviewed and they're like, well, what book you? I don't need to know that. I know everything. I know everything. I got everything at the tip of my fingers. I got the world knowledge at the tip of my fingers. Well, my wife was even talking about at a class she taught about one of the kids in college saying to her, well, who is George Orwell? George Orwell is a very important intellectual figure. But it's like, well, if I need to know that, I'll just Google it. I'll just look up on Wikipedia and that'll tell me everything I need to know. It's like there's no substitute for the hard work of knowledge and doing some actual reading and doing some actual thinking. There's just no substitute for that. Why isn't my Rumble coming over here? I see some Rumble comments. Good fella D's you're putting. You think I'm going to get locked up? Okay, well, probably. By God, West Virginia, right? Well, maybe I'm getting it. I was just older. Okay. Let's see. So, Zach, what is this? What are you talking about? You're mad because you didn't give me my birthday present? Danielle, make this right. What's their birthday present? Zach, are you the one that I shipped the book to? You should have gotten the book. Okay, so distraction. Jordan Peterson, I think we got that. That's built into the cake. I got two more stickies here. And these are sort of, I don't know how related these are, but we're still rocking and then we'll do the handoff. Everybody following so far? Are we doing okay? Got a lot to say tonight. I don't know. This is what I've been thinking about. What else has the internet done? Destruction of industries by tech. So there's been huge industries that have been absolute decimated by tech. Now, on the one hand, it's progress and it makes things more efficient. And I can't argue with that. However, there are some industries. The music industry has been absolutely devastated by tech. No longer do people buy CDs and DVDs. It's all downloaded, and the tech companies are basically stealing all of the money through streaming. There's no money to be made writing good music anymore, and it becomes a social media popularity thing. The only way musicians now make money is through touring and merchandising. The mechanicals and that sort of stuff is basically same goes for books. And I will tell you that from personal experience. It's been so commodified. Like I sell all my books off of my website. And I do that because I'm just looking, where's the deal? Now, on the other hand, it's a winner take all mentality. So when I go and buy a singer, I'm not going to buy the third best singer. I'm going to buy the best singer. And, you got all the CDs and there's a million singers out there. Well, only the top guy or top few are going to get the recognition. And it's because of the worldwide internet, the sort of commoditization of the music industry. Same thing with books, but the book publishers that control the access to the media control everything. So a person that sells 1 million books, their book may suck compared to mine. I think my book, I tried to read 50 Shades of Grey. Death Penalty Desires, Passionless and Murder is way better than 99% of your romance, mystery, crime novels. And this is based in reality. This is real law framing this, as well as a love story, lust story, right? But nobody knows about this. And so if you get it, make sure you put reviews on Amazon and stuff, or tell people about it, post people about it, because I need to expand the market, right? But for me to have, where's the access to the market? How does anybody even know about this? You guys know about it. You guys help me and support it. But nobody knows, because they'd rather go and push. And so what they do is they screen for political agenda and political correctness. There's some stuff in that book that's absolutely politically incorrect. Right? Yes. Okay. And Gigi, you're a woman of my own heart. You got it. I love it. That's right. That's right. Zach, Danielle. Okay. So Danielle and Zach are working out their problems on my chat. That's good. I want you to work in. Here's the author giving book recommendations. I was thinking about doing more author interviews. Which one are you reading, Auntie? You're reading one of my books? Which one? Yeah, see, they're like, this is celebs like Michelle Obama, Prince Harry get big money for the books. Do they really have anything to say? Does Michelle Obama really have anything to say? Does Prince Harry, or is it the other way around? They have this platform, so we're going to create something that the media can then shovel some money to create some, it's ridiculous. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Bronze. Good to see you. We're almost done. You can catch the last 10 minutes. We're almost done. Okay, so winner take all, books, media. Last statement. Okay, the Amazon copy. Okay, good. Did you get it? You've been reading it? You got the PG version if you got it on Amazon. See there, she's a wholesome lady. Okay. I want to talk about some threats the internet has. You reject hypergamy? I don't know. I don't know about that. Maybe you're the odd woman who is that. My wife is very different than most women, I would say. I think the general rule is hypergamy. It's not the absolute rule. And if you're aware of it too, if you're aware of that insight in yourself, if you make it conscious, you can make the smart selection, which I hope that you do. Same thing with men. I hope that you overcome the barest instincts to make wise decisions in your relationships and not just be governed by your raw instinct. In fact, one of the themes of Death Penalty Desired is to be aware of the proper place for your proclivities, let's say, and where that you should not bring them into the world in areas that they should not be brought into. You need to read it in order to get the message. But here's some threats to humanity. Let's just, again, I'm going to change it out. Threats to human freedom and truth that the internet can create and that we need to be hyper vigilant about. A little bit of this is in Prepare. and that is the cashless society. The cashless society. I talked about this in the stream with a guy with a big suitcase full of money on the stream talking about excessive fines. A cashless society, that means that all of your money is in numbers and credit cards and institutions and computers, is actually invisible. So I will say that cash and specie like silver and gold and hard tangibles like that are is essential for freedom, even if it's not utilized. Even if most of your world is done through credit card and done through internet and done through electronic transactions, fine, there's no problems with that. But we must maintain the ability to have cash and specie as a oil for our market to avoid governmental oversight on certain transactions and to give humanity freedom from government control. So a cashless society is a threat to human individual freedom. Cars, automobiles, personal transportation, that is essential. And I'm not against, I know a lot of conservatives are against, trains and rail or airplanes or I don't know, whatever means of public transport are out there. I'm not against public transport generally if it makes economic sense for an area. It's an option. But to do away with the car is to do away with individual freedom. Yes, Danielle knows. See, Danielle knows. The Subaru, dude, don't take away my Subaru from my cold, dead hand. I love my Subaru. The car represents individual freedom. It involves me. If I want to go, okay, so all of a sudden the government wants to shut everything down. So they shut down the trains and the airplanes. I can get in my car and I can drive to California or away from California, probably more likely, right? Yeah, people are considering this. Trains, regional. Well, it depends where you live. Like if the subways are great. When I'm in DC or New York, I love the subways. I love subways and cabs. It's great. But we don't have subways in Florida. We got swamp. You dig down 3 feet, you're hitting water. But so doing away. So that's the thing. The big cities control. Well, everybody should drive the train. Well, if you're in a big city, that makes sense. But when you're in anywhere else in the 95% of the country, it makes no sense at all. It's stupid. The car is essential for individual freedom. Home, property ownership, individual home ownership is essential for individual freedom. Now, a lot of people, my son, and when you're young and an apartment is great because you can go in the whole world, the whole country at least, is your marketplace for your skills and your labor. So I can go rent an apartment on the other side of the state and work for more money, gives me flexibility for my employer. It's great. However, having a home, paid for home, the American dream is still there. Maybe you can't afford it when you're young, but at some point you can settle down and you can retire and they can't take that from you. So home ownership is essential to individual freedom. And I'll throw out another one. If you've read Prepare, you'll know this one's coming. Guns are essential for individual freedom because guns allow us to protect ourselves. It's the great equalizer. That means individualized self-defense. Government can control you by withdrawing police protection from areas and letting criminals and mobs punish its political opponents. So if you have community guns, and a good example of that was the Koreans in the LA riots who got on top of their businesses with their rifles and defended their businesses from mob looting. That was police withdrew. Being able to protect your life, it's the ultimate liberty, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I have the right to protect my life and the lives of my family within the shelter of my home. Guns are essential for individual freedom. So a cashless society is a danger for individual freedom. A social credit system is dangerous. It is a basically, if we establish a social credit system, we are in a tyrannical society. Not that we're not now. I'm not convinced that we aren't already. Maybe there's a glimmer of hope. But the Chinese social credit system, wherein your favoritism dependent on the state favor, and basically when you fit the state criteria, we have to fight that with every bit of our bones, because once that gets implemented, you can't get a loan because you're politically distant, you're a Christian, or you're this, or you're that. Government should be out of that. The surveillance state is a threat to our freedom. Cameras in the cities, cars, cash, car, home, guns, social credit system, cashless society, surveillance state, cameras in cities. All righty. What do you think? Was that fun? All right. So what do we, let's summarize. Oh, let's see. Okay. Well, that's an easy call. Okay. We're gonna drop you over on Lego Life Laws and Libations. Megan Fox is on in Valhalla. Wendy H is on in MLS Law. That's gotta be. So we're gonna redirect you over there. Okay. And you know what you do, right? With the Ghazni chat here. Thank you all for showing up. It was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed that little discussion. And customization, I'm going to drop you over there. And when we redirect, you got to say Ghazni Raid, right? Okay, there we go. Save. Just a few thoughts. All right. God bless y'all. Good night.